They say knowledge is power, but they never told you that control is the weapon that wields it. What if I told you there's a mental shift so subtle, so ruthless, that once you master it, no one can manipulate, deceive, or dominate you again? This is not intelligence as they teach it in schools. This is the intelligence that Machiavelli wrote about, the kind that turns ordinary men into strategists, manipulators, and rulers of their own fate. The average person thinks intelligence is memory, speed, or logic. They measure it in tests and grades, in IQ numbers and academic walls. But true intelligence, the kind that rewires the world around you, is psychological control. Control of what you see, control of how you react, and ultimately control of your own mind before anyone else can. When Machiavelli wrote The Prince, he wasn't describing politics, he was describing a game of minds. He knew that every human is trapped inside invisible chains: emotion, fear, and impulse. And whoever learns to cut those chains becomes untouchable. Here's the hack. Stop trying to win arguments. Start trying to understand motivations. The smart man listens to what's said. The Machiavellian man listens to why it's said. Because beneath every word lies intention. And once you can see the intention, you no longer get played. You see, intelligence is not about reacting faster. It's about delaying reaction. Every fool responds. Every master observes. The brain that pauses gains power over those who rush. And in that silence, control is born. Think of your emotions as levers in your mind. People pull them to move you. Anger, flattery, guilt, they're the strings that control puppets. But once you recognize the string, you cut it. That's when you stop being controlled. That's when you become the one pulling them. Machiavelli's true secret was emotional detachment disguised as strategy. He observed people not with empathy, but with curiosity. He didn't ask, "Why are they doing this to me?" He asked, "What do they gain by doing this?" The first question makes you a victim. The second makes you powerful. Your mind is programmable. Every advertisement, every influencer, every authority figure, they're hacking your neural pathways. They plant triggers that make you act against your own interest. Buy this, believe this, follow this. You are conditioned to be predictable. But if you become aware of the code, you can rewrite it. That's the brain hack. Awareness, observation, control. To become 10x smarter, you don't add more knowledge, you remove emotional interference. You stop letting the world tell you how to think. You stop defending your ego. You stop reacting. You watch. Once you can watch your thoughts without identifying with them, you begin to understand your mind as a tool, not as your master. Most people are slaves to their thoughts. They don't think their thought. They don't act, they react. But those who rise above this loop become manipulators of reality itself. When you walk into a room, observe energy before words. People leak truth through tone, not speech. They reveal fear through eyes, not arguments. Once you start decoding these micro-signals, you see what's real. And when you see what's real, illusions die. The world is a chessboard. The average man plays checkers, reacting to every move. The Machiavellian plays chesses, already 10 moves ahead, predicting not just your moves, but your psychology. This is the brain hack that turns you into a strategist in life. You stop chasing validation. You start positioning yourself where power naturally flows toward you. Power doesn't come from being liked, it comes from being needed by an intelligence, when properly weaponized, makes you indispensable. You become the person who sees patterns no one else does. You become dangerous not because you're cruel, but because you're calm. Because while others lose themselves in emotion, you remain calculating, silent, untouchable. The world will always try to provoke you, to make you react. That's how control works. But when you stop reacting, they lose their grip. They become predictable. You become unreadable. And the unreadable are the ones who rule. This is the dark art of intelligence. Understanding the world not emotionally, but strategically. To think like a Machiavellian is to observe without attachment, plan without emotion, and act without hesitation. To become 10x smarter is to know when not to act. Because patience is not weakness, sits stored power. And when that power is released with precision, no one can stop it. So, remember this. Every reaction is a chain. Every silence is a sword. And every observation an advantage. Master your mind, and no one can master you. Detach from emotion, and no one can deceive you. Think strategically, and no one can replace you. That is the brain hack Machiavelli would never put in words. Because once you learn it, you're no longer a pawn. You become the player behind the board.
The greatest lie they ever told you is that intelligence is light. That the smarter you become, the more peaceful, kind, and understanding you'll be. But true intelligence is darkness. Because once you see the truth of human nature, you can never unsee it. The more you understand people, the less you trust them. The more you understand emotion, the less you express it. And the more you understand the game, the less you want to play. Machiavelli understood this paradox. He knew that intelligence isolates you. The fool seeks comfort in belonging. The wise one seeks control in solitude. You don't need to talk to everyone. You don't need to prove yourself. You only need to observe quietly. Because silence gathers information, words give it away. The man who speaks less knows more, and the man who listens learns everything. There's a reason the powerful seem distant. It's not arrogance, it's protection. When you distance yourself from the noise, your perception sharpens. You begin to see patterns in human behavior. You realize that most conflicts are illusions designed to steal your focus. You begin to notice how people reveal their entire psychology in their smallest actions. Watch how people treat those who can't benefit them. Watch how they behave when they think no one's watching. Watch how they react when they lose control. Those are the moments where the mask slips and the truth steps out. Now here's the real brain hack. Stop trying to win people over. Start making them depend on your stability. The world is full of emotional chaos. Everyone's drowning in confusion, anger, and insecurity. If you can remain calm, detached, centered, you become their anchor. They'll come to you for guidance, for confidence, for peace. And slowly, without realizing it, they give you power. Because people follow those who are least controlled by emotion. This is what Machiavelli meant by mastering perception. He didn't say be kind, he said appear kind. He didn't say be honest, he said appear honest. Because perception is stronger than truth. The world doesn't reward what's real, it rewards what's believable. So use your intelligence strategically. Never reveal your entire truth. Let people see just enough to underestimate you. Let them believe they understand you. Because once they think they can predict you, you control their expectations. And when you control their expectations, you control their emotions. This is the ultimate mental freedom, to operate in a world of manipulation without being manipulated, to influence others without losing yourself, to act emotionlessly while others drown in their impulses. If you want to become impossible to control, train your brain in 3 ways. First, detach from praise. Second, detach from anger. Third, detach from needing understanding. The moment you no longer need validation, you break the system. Because the world runs on validation. Every social media post, every opinion, every argument, people want to be seen. But when you no longer need to be seen, you become invisible to control. You become a ghost in the psychological matrix. You can move undetected, influence quietly, and strike strategically. Remember this. Control doesn't always look like power. Sometimes it looks like silence. Sometimes it looks like patience. Sometimes it looks like not reacting at all. There's a difference between intelligence and awareness. Intelligence analyzes, awareness observes, and awareness is superior. Because intelligence can be tricked by logic, but awareness senses truth without needing proof. When you enter a conversation, don't listen for agreement, listen for weakness. Listen for insecurity, for ego, for emotional attachment. That's where people are most easily controlled. Not through threats, not through logic, through subtlety. Machiavelli understood that humans are not driven by reason, they're driven by emotion wrapped in justification. They rationalize what their feelings want. So, if you can see the emotion behind their reasoning, you can predict their next move before they do. That's the ultimate intelligence predictive psychology. And once you develop it, you're not just smart, you're dangerous. Because danger doesn't come from aggression. It comes from calm understanding. The one who sees, controls. The one who reacts, obeys, and this is where true power begins, in stillness, in awareness, in silence. While others fight to be heard, you'll be the one quietly pulling the strings. While they burn energy proving themselves, you'll conserve yours for the perfect moment to strike. Because timing, not strength, is what decides who wins the game. And when that moment comes, you won't act from emotion, you won't act from impulse. You'll act from pure, deliberate calculation. That is the brain hack of the untouchable, the strategy of the unseen, and the art of becoming both intelligent and impossible to control. The higher your awareness climbs, the lonelier it gets, because intelligence is not a blessing, it's a burden. You'll start to see the strings behind people's smiles, the manipulation behind their kindness, the self-interest behind their love. And when you see it clearly, you'll be tempted to expose it. Don't. That's not what intelligent people do. They don't waste energy trying to wake up the blind. They use that blindness to build advantage. The average mind seeks fairness. The superior mind seeks understanding. Because fairness doesn't exist in nature, only balance does. And balance is maintained by those who can calculate, not by those who can complain. When you learn to think like Machiavelli, you stop asking, "Why is this happening to me?" Instead, you ask, "How can this serve me?" Every setback becomes information. Every betrayal becomes data. Every pain becomes a signal pointing toward mastery. The fool suffers for nothing. The wise suffer with purpose. And that purpose sharpens them into something the world can't easily bend. People often confuse kindness with weakness. They think if you don't fight back, you're scared. But Machiavellian calm is not fear, it's preparation. It's knowing that every battle costs energy and only fools fight every war. A true strategist only strikes when the outcome is certain. Until then, he watches, he listens, he plans. That's how you become unstoppable. Not by being aggressive, but by being precise. You see, power is not about domination. It's about perception control. Once you control how people perceive you, you control how they behave around you. If they see you as dangerous, they tread lightly. If they see you as useful, they protect you. If they see you as indifferent, they chase your attention. The true master plays all 3 roles: dangerous when challenged, useful when observed, indifferent when desired. That is psychological invisibility. That is the brain hack of total control. But here's the paradox. The more control you gain, the less you need it. because control is only valuable to those who fear chaos. Once you master your mind, chaos no longer threatens you. You don't need to manipulate the world anymore, you simply guide it with quiet influence. And people won't even know why they follow you. They'll call you charismatic, magnetic, intimidating. They'll feel something around you, something they can't explain. It's not charm, it's not luck, it's presence. Presence is what happens when your mind and emotions move as one, without conflict. You're grounded, focused, still, and that stillness radiates. It commands attention without words. That's the final stage of mental mastery. You no longer chase power, you become power. You no longer seek control, you are control. And when you reach that level, no one can touch you. No gossip, no insult, no manipulation can penetrate your mind. Because you're no longer reacting from emotion, you're acting from clarity. Machiavelli knew this centuries ago. To rule others, you must first rule yourself. To rule yourself, you must first know yourself. And to know yourself, you must watch yourself. Your thoughts, your triggers, your impulses. Once you understand your own weaknesses, no one can use them against you. Once you understand your own emotions, no one can manipulate them. That's the real meaning of being impossible to control. Most people live in reaction. You must live in design. Design your thoughts, design your responses, design your silence. Because the silence of a strong mind speaks louder than the noise of the world. When you stop needing to prove how smart you are, you become smarter. When you stop needing to show how powerful you are, you become powerful. And when you stop letting emotion decide your actions, you become untouchable. So remember this, your brain is not your master, it's your weapon. Sharpen it daily, feed it with observation, not distraction. Train it with discipline, not dopamine. And use it with precision, not emotion. That's the hack, that's the edge. That's the hidden system behind every powerful, intelligent mind throughout history. They didn't react, they calculated. They didn't chase, they positioned. They didn't speak, they commanded. And you can do the same. There's a secret that every manipulator, strategist, and empire builder eventually discovers. Intelligence isn't about thinking faster, it's about thinking colder. The colder your mind becomes, the clearer you see, and clarity is lethal. Because when you see reality without emotion, you start to notice how predictable everyone else really is. Look closely at the people around you. They think they're unique, original, spontaneous. But they're just patterns. Reactions coded by childhood fears, unhealed egos, and the need to belong. Predict the pattern, and you predict the person. That's the secret language of power. You stop responding to words and start reading energy. When someone smiles too much, they want something. When someone compliments you too soon, they're disarming you. When someone argues emotionally, they're trying to control your attention. And when someone suddenly goes silent, they're calculating, just like you. Now the question becomes, how do you use this knowledge without becoming corrupted by it? That's the real test of intelligence, restraint. Because power without restraint destroys itself. The moment you start manipulating for ego, you lose clarity. And the moment you lose clarity, your intelligence collapses into chaos. So practice what I call the inner Machiavellian discipline. When someone insults you, observe your emotional rise, but don't feed it. When someone flatters you, notice the pleasure, but don't trust it. When someone challenges you, measure their motive, not their words. When someone betrays you, thank them for revealing their truth. This is emotional alchemy, turning reaction into data. That's how intelligence evolves into wisdom. True wisdom isn't loud. It doesn't need validation. It walks quietly, moves deliberately, and sees everything. And when your mind reaches that state, you become what Machiavelli hinted at but never fully wrote: a psychological sovereign, a ruler without a crown, a strategist of perception. No one knows what you think. No one can predict what you'll do. And because they can't predict you, they can't control you. You become unreadable. And the unreadable are the untouchable. But to sustain that level of power, you must protect your energy as ruthlessly as you protect your ideas. Never argue with emotion. Never explain to fools. Never reveal plans prematurely. Your silence will always be more intimidating than your words. Let them underestimate you. Let them misjudge you. Let them whisper your name in confusion, because every time they do, they give you more leverage. Confusion is control. The human brain fears what it can't categorize, so when they can't label you, they start to respect you. Not because they understand you, but because they can't. That's the paradox of real intelligence. You stop chasing recognition because recognition belongs to the visible. You are the invisible, the silent strategist behind every apparent success, the calm eye in every storm, the watcher, not the watched. And here's the final layer of the brain hack: self-programming, the ability to rewrite your own mental code. Every time you notice a weakness in your mind, a fear, a reaction, a distraction, you have two options: ignore it or reprogram it. Reprogramming is how you become superhuman. If you fear rejection, train yourself to seek solitude until the fear dissolves. If you crave validation, train yourself to operate unseen. If you anger easily, train yourself to delay response until the emotion dies. Each time you resist your weakness, you strengthen your weapon. Each time you discipline your emotions, your intelligence multiplies. That's the real meaning of becoming 10x smarter, not more facts. More control. Because a controlled mind outperforms a chaotic genius every single time. So practice this daily. Wake up in silence. Observe before speaking. Listen longer than necessary. Pause before reacting. Decide with logic, not impulse. Detach before acting. And soon, you'll notice something terrifyingly beautiful. The world slows down around you. While others panic, you'll predict. While others argue, you'll observe. While others lose control, you'll be the calm architect behind the curtain. That is the level Machiavelli wrote for. That is the consciousness of true power. And that is the final evolution of the human mind, when you are no longer part of the game. You become the one designing. There comes a moment in every intelligent mind's evolution where the pursuit of control shifts inward, when you realize the world doesn't have to change, only your perception does. This is the highest stage of intelligence, when nothing can disturb your inner order, when chaos outside becomes fuel for calm inside, when every threat becomes an opportunity to test your mental weapon. That's when the mind becomes a fortress. And a fortress doesn't chase the storm, it stands through it. The average person spends their life trying to convince. The wise person simply embodies. Because the most powerful ideas are not spoken, they are felt. When you truly master yourself, people feel it in your silence. They sense the difference. They can't describe it, but they submit to it. This is the silent dominance of a trained mind. It doesn't demand attention, it attracts it. Machiavelli understood this truth, that the ruler's real power doesn't come from his army, but from his psychological gravity. The way he thinks, moves, and observes becomes magnetic, because humans are subconsciously drawn to certainty. They follow those who know, not those who hope. So the question becomes, how do you create this unshakable certainty within yourself? It's not given. It's built brick by brick, moment by moment, thought by thought. Start by removing everything that weakens your focus. Every distraction, every unearned opinion, every pointless emotion, cut them off like dead weight. Your energy is sacred, your attention is currency, and your silence is strategy. Learn to say less but think deeply, to observe more but reveal nothing, to stay neutral while the world burns around you. Because that's the true mark of a superior mind, not that it never feels emotion, but that it commands emotion. Control doesn't mean coldness. It means using heat only when you choose to, and never when provoked to. Once you reach that point, something extraordinary happens. People start to mirror your energy. They lower their tone around you. They rethink their words. They begin to measure their reactions. Without ever asking for it, you begin to command respect. Not through fear, but through presence. Because a calm mind radiates authority. You can walk into a room full of noise and your stillness will silence it. That's not coincidence, that's energy control. See, Machiavelli never taught people to be cruel for cruelty's sake. He taught that cruelty without control is weakness. That strategy without self-awareness is chaos. He understood that power must be used surgically. One precise strike, not 1,000 flailing blows. And that's where your brain becomes a weapon. because precision comes from awareness, and awareness is the ultimate hack. It's the difference between the man who reacts and the man who rules. Reactions are emotional debt. Every time you react, you pay with peace. Every time you observe instead, you collect energy. And one day you'll realize you're no longer part of the noise, you're the silence that controls it. The Machiavellian mind doesn't chase victory, it designs inevitability. It moves so strategically that outcomes start to align without effort. That's what people call luck, but it's not luck. It's structure, discipline, and foresight. Every thought becomes deliberate. Every silence becomes meaningful. Every decision becomes a weapon of influence. And once you start thinking at that level, you realize you no longer need permission to rise. You simply choose to. Because the brain that controls its focus controls its world. And those who can't be controlled mentally can't be defeated physically, socially, or emotionally. That's the final phase of intelligence, not domination, but design. Not manipulation, but mastery. Because mastery means this: you've reached a point where no one can take your peace, no one can hijack your emotions, and no one can rewrite your story without your consent. That is what it means to be impossible to control, not rebellion. Not arrogance, but perfect awareness. And that is the true Machiavellian secret, the one they never wrote in books. The one hidden between the lines of the prince. That power isn't about ruling others. There will come a day when you'll understand that the most dangerous mind in any room is the one that stays quiet. Because silence is not the absence of thought, it is the perfection of control. The world worships noise, constant talking, explaining, proving, defending. But the Machiavellian mind does none of it. It observes, calculates, and strikes only when every variable has aligned in its favor. The ordinary person reacts. The intelligent person responds, but the truly powerful, they wait, until waiting itself becomes a weapon. You see, patience is the ultimate intelligence amplifier. The one who can sit still while others panic. The one who can think clearly while others drown in emotion. That person has already won. Because in a world of impulsive minds, restraint is a superpower. When your emotions no longer dictate your decisions, you become untouchable. No insult can move you, no manipulation can bend you, no temptation can lure you off your path. Because you no longer chase validation, you command it. This is the brain hack. No one teaches you. You don't need to outtalk people. You don't need to outshine them. You need to outlast them. The quiet mind lasts longer. It learns faster, it sees more. And it controls without appearing to control. While others burn themselves out trying to be seen, you build power in the shadows. While they exhaust their energy proving their worth, you conserve yours and strike when the timing is perfect. The Machiavellian doesn't fight battles. He ends them before they begin. He doesn't argue, he makes others question themselves. He doesn't chase, he lets others come to him, drawn by the gravity of his composure. You want to be 10x smarter? Then stop chasing speed, chase clarity. Because the clearest mind can see the move before it happens. And that foresight is worth more than 1,000 words of intelligence. The powerful don't control the world by force. They do it by understanding how it works. Once you have mastered yourself, the next step is to master perception. Most people think influence comes from being the loudest voice in the room or winning every argument. They're mistaken. They fail to grasp the delicate psychology of control. The power of a well-timed pause, the meaning behind a fleeting micro-expression, the hidden intentions veiled by words. A truly strategic mind doesn't just hear what is said, it understands why it's said. Every gesture, every shift in tone, every slight hesitation is a piece of a larger puzzle. Once you learn to decode this hidden language, you're no longer just a participant in the conversation. You become the invisible force guiding its direction. People constantly reveal their entire strategy through their reactions to you. That nervous glance away, the story that's a little too detailed, that momentary pause before answering a simple question, these aren't just random behaviors. They are unintentional truths slipping through the cracks of their composure. The clever mind doesn't challenge these truths head-on. It doesn't argue or confront. Instead, it quietly catalogs them, analyzes them, and waits. It waits for the perfect moment to act. And in this game, timing isn't just important, it's everything. It's the secret weapon of control. If you strike too early, your move is wasted, your advantage lost. If you strike too late, someone else has already seized the opportunity. But if you strike with precision, at that exact moment when emotion clouds their judgment and the stage is perfectly set, you become unstoppable. One of the most potent tactics is to learn how to make people underestimate you. The mind that is underestimated operates in the shadows, invisible until the moment it chooses to strike. Let others bask in the spotlight of their own arrogance, their impatience, or their overconfidence. Let them talk, let them boast. Every word they speak, every slip they make is a gift of information. Every misstep they take becomes your leverage. True power is subtle. Real influence is silent. And the person who is truly formidable never needs to force their will upon others. They create a gravity that naturally draws power toward them. Often the most brilliant strategy is to do nothing at all. Inaction can be a powerful tool. Let others reveal their weaknesses in their haste. Let them chase you or exhaust themselves reacting to your calm, unwavering composure. And then, when the moment is perfectly ripe, you move. You move decisively. Not with a surge of emotion, but with cold, hard calculation. This brings us to your ultimate advantage, predictive thinking. At their core, humans are creatures of habit. We are driven by a predictable cocktail of fear, desire, and ego. Once you learn the patterns, the specific triggers that make people act in certain ways, you can begin to anticipate their decisions before they are even made. And the ability to anticipate is the highest form of power. While others are reacting to the present, you are already shaping the future. And as you do this, remember a cardinal rule: never show all your cards. Never reveal your full intent. Let people guess. Let them assume and miscalculate. Their assumptions become the very tools you use against them. The Machiavellian mind understands that control isn't about being liked. It's about being respected, needed, and most importantly, unpredictable. This doesn't mean you have to be a warrior in every conflict. In fact, you should do the opposite. Do not fight every battle. Do not feel compelled to correct every mistake you see someone make. Do not waste your breath explaining yourself to every critic. Your restraint is your advantage. From a detached position, you can observe conflicts without joining them. You can notice the currents of jealousy without getting swept away. You can track the ambitions of others without directly competing. Because while everyone else is expending their energy on reactions, you are conserving yours for what truly matters: influence. And influence is the ultimate form of invisible power. When you can guide people's choices without them even realizing they are being guided, you have moved beyond simple manipulation. You have become uncontested. The final step in mastering perception is achieving subtlety in execution. You will discover that you can move mountains, not by shouting commands, but by gently nudging the right piece at the right time. You can shape outcomes, not by brute force, but by a deep understanding of the psychology that drives every decision. You can dominate situations not through overt control but through strategic invisibility. Always remember this: the strongest power is the power that no one realizes exists. The most dangerous mind is the one that feels no need to prove its intelligence. The smartest person in any room is the one who is thinking 10 steps ahead, patiently waiting while the rest of the world moves blindly into the future they have already designed. To become impossible to control, you must first master yourself. Then you master the art of perception. Thank you for watching. If you found this valuable, consider subscribing for more insights. Once you have mastered yourself, the next step is mastering perception, the art of reading people, predicting them, and bending situations to your will without them ever knowing. Most people believe influence comes from speaking louder or arguing harder. They don't understand the subtle psychology of control, the pauses, the micro-expressions, the hidden intentions behind words. A Machiavellian mind doesn't just observe what is said, it sees why it is said. Every gesture, every tone, every hesitation carries meaning. And once you can decode it, you are no longer part of the conversation. You are the invisible force guiding it. People reveal their entire strategy in the way they react to you. The nervous glance, the over-explained story, the slight hesitation, these are all signals. They are unintentional truths. The clever mind doesn't argue or challenge these truths. It catalogs them, analyzes them, and waits for the perfect moment to act. Timing is the secret weapon of control. Strike too early and your move is wasted. Strike too late and someone else gains the advantage. But strike precisely when emotion clouds judgment and the stage is set, and you will be unstoppable. Learn to make people underestimate you. The underestimated mind is invisible until it moves. Let others reveal themselves in their arrogance, impatience, or overconfidence. Every slip is information. Every misstep is leverage. Power is subtle. Influence is silent. And the truly dangerous person never needs to force it. They draw it toward themselves. The most brilliant strategy is often inaction. Let others reveal their weaknesses. Let them chase you or react to your calm. And then, when the moment is perfect, move decisively. Not with emotion, but with calculation. Predictive thinking is your ultimate advantage. Humans are creatures of habit, driven by fear, desire, and ego. Once you learn the patterns, the triggers that make people act, you can anticipate every decision before it is made. And anticipation is power. Never show all your cards. Never reveal your full intent. Let people guess, assume, and miscalculate, and then use their assumptions against them. The Machiavellian understands that control isn't about being liked. It's about being respected, needed, and unpredictable. Do not fight every battle. Do not correct every mistake. Do not explain yourself to every critic. Your restraint is your advantage. Observe conflicts without joining them. Notice jealousy without responding. Track ambition without competing. Because while others expend energy in reaction, you conserve it for influence. And influence is invisible power. When you can guide people's choices without them realizing, you have moved beyond manipulation. You have become uncontested. The final step in this stage is subtlety in execution. You can move mountains not by shouting, but by nudging the right piece at the right time. You can shape outcomes not by force, but by understanding the psychology that drives decisions. You can dominate situations not by control, but by strategic invisibility. Remember, the strongest power is that which no one realizes exists. The most dangerous mind is the one that never needs to prove its intelligence. The smartest person in the room is the one who thinks 10 steps ahead, and waits while the world moves blindly into their design. To become impossible to control, master yourself. Observe relentlessly, predict calmly, and act with surgical precision. When you do this, people will unknowingly fall into the patterns you create.